Welcome, and this is the first lesson in the economics course. This course is meant for UPSC civil service aspirants. So let us directly get into the subject. So the subject we are looking at is economics. The first question that we would like to answer is, what is economics? So many of the students attempting the civil services would be from science streams, so their basic knowledge of economics would be very little. However, economics is very simple to understand because most of the science students are from science background. So it is basically math and logic combined, nothing more. So if we have to define economics, how would we define economics? So economics is the social science that describes the factors that determines the production, distribution and consumption of goods and services. So there are three keywords here that we'll have to look at. So the first keyword is production. The second keyword is consumption. And the third word is distribution. So you have some manufacturers who are undertaking the production work. You have consumers who consume the products that the producers produce, and then you have distributors. So the distributors actually make sure that the goods and services reach the consumers, that is the people who would like to use the goods and services. So these are the three keywords. And then we also have something called goods and services. So what are goods? For example, a pen like this is a good, and the board is a good. So most of these physical entities that are tangible and that can be bought, these are all goods. Services are something like the services which a doctor gives you. For example, you go to a doctor when you are hurt or when you are ill, and then he takes care of you, that is, he treats you. Then that is the service that the doctor is providing. He is not giving you something physical apart from the band-aid. The band-aid is a good, but the knowledge that he has is a service. Even teaching, for example, is a service. So this is the basic difference between goods and services. So economics looks at goods as well as services, and it looks at how the goods and services are produced, how they are consumed, and how they are distributed. This is a wide scope of what economics does. So when we are talking about a subject like economics, the scope of this syllabus and the scope of the subject is very wide. However, to understand economics, we have to understand a few concepts. Once we understand these concepts, understanding economics becomes very easy. So now we will just move on. So we can look at economics in two parts, or we can split it up into two categories. One is microeconomics, and the other one is macroeconomics. So I have two basic categories. One is called microeconomics and the other one is called macroeconomics. So what is microeconomics? Microeconomics analyzes the market behavior of individual consumers and firms in an attempt to understand the decision-making process of firms and households. So we are only looking at a very micro level, that is, we are looking at individuals, we are looking at firms, and we are looking at households. So macroeconomics is mainly concerned with individuals and individual firms that make up the economy. So we are looking at individuals and individual firms and households that make up the economy. So this is a micro picture. So if we have to look at macroeconomics, we are looking at examining country-wide phenomena such as changes in unemployment, national income, rate of growth, gross domestic product like GDP, inflation, price levels, so on and so forth. So macroeconomics is actually concerned with questions that affect the entire nation and not just individuals or individual firms. So there is a macro view that we are looking at. So we are mainly going to study macroeconomics for civil services. So macroeconomics is mainly concerned with macro phenomena and issues that concern the entire economy and the entire country. country. So this is the major difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. We'll mainly be looking at macroeconomics for civil services, because that is what is important as far as the examination is concerned. The concepts governing microeconomics and macroeconomics are very similar, and there is not a huge difference between the two. So once we master the concepts for macroeconomics, even understanding microeconomics is not going to be very different. So coming to macroeconomics, what are the type of questions that confront us when we begin to study macroeconomics? For example, will the prices as a whole come down or will it go up? Will the on-in prices come down or will the on-in prices go up? That is one example. So is the unemployment condition of the country as a whole going to get better, or at least of some sectors of the economy, is it getting better or is it worsening? So what would be the reasonable indicators to show that the economy is getting better or worse? So what steps can be taken by the state or by the people in order to improve the state of the economy? These are the kind of questions that make us think about the health of the economy as a whole. So this is what basically macroeconomics entails. However, I have given a very small picture of what macroeconomics is. So as we progress in this course, we will understand the entire scope of macroeconomics. So now we come to some important concepts, like we begin with some basics. So supply and demand. So these are terms that we come across in our daily life. What is supply and what is demand? So we understand that supply is when somebody gives us something, and demand is when we ask something of others. So this is a basic understanding. Let us look at it a bit more technically. So looking at it technically, let us begin with the law of supply. So what does the law of supply state? The law of supply states that an increase in price results in an increase in quantity supplied. So I repeat, the law of supply, it states that an increase in price results in an increase in quantity supplied. So the law of supply is actually looked at from the point of view of the suppliers, or from the point of view of producers or manufacturers, whatever we would like to call them. So it is only looked at in this way, that is, as the price increases, the quantity supplied increases. So we can take an example and we can look at this. For example, let us say that there is a manufacturer of chocolates. So let us say his cost price is 8 rupees and he is selling it now at 10 rupees. And at this price he is ready to supply a quantity of 100 chocolates. So if now the price increases to 12 rupees, so we will see that his margin has increased, or his profit has increased, or his spread has increased. So he would obviously like to produce more. So at this stage, when the price is 12 rupees, he would like to manufacture, say, 150 chocolates. So he would like to increase the supply as the price has gone up. So if it increases to 14 rupees, he would have more incentives to produce more of chocolates, because his margin of profit is getting better, and there are so many other factors related as well. For example, economies of scale and so on and so forth, which we will discuss as the course progresses. So as you can see, there is a pattern here. As price increases, the quantity supplied by the producer, that is the quantity he is willing to produce and supply, is increasing. So this is the law of supply. The law of supply is looked at from the point of view of the supplier and not from the point of view of consumer. So we can actually plot this in a graph. If we have to look at a graph, so if this is price and this is quantity, so as the price increases, the quantity also increases. So that relation can easily be seen in this linear graph that we are showing it here. As the price is increasing, the quantity is also increasing. So this can be seen, right? So we can just see, and so on. So this is the law of supply. Similarly, we have to also look at it from the consumer's point of view. For example, if the price is increasing, obviously a consumer will want to consume less, right? Because you can't keep affording something that is growing costlier every single day. So at this point, we come to the law of demand. So what does the law of demand say? So the law of demand states that all other factors being equal, as the price of a good or service increases, the consumer's demand for the good or service will decrease and vice versa. So I'm sure we'll be able to relate to this. So because this is from a consumer's point of view, what the law of demand is actually saying is, as the price of a good or service increases, then the demand decreases. Increase in price, quantity consumed decreases. So as the price increases, so the quantity consumed decreases. This is the law of demand. So we can also look at this in the same way as we looked at the law of supply. For example, let us say onion is now being sold. So let's say onion now costs 40 rupees a kilo. So price is 40 rupees. So you will be willing to buy 3 kilos of onion. Let us say so you will be willing to buy 3 kilos of onion at rupees 40. So now if the price of the onion is 80 rupees, you will probably buy 1.5 kgs. If the price of the onion is 120 rupees, you will end up buying 1 kg. So we can clearly see that the graph that results from this kind of behavior of a consumer is the graph that results has a negative association. So this is what we will see. If you can't see the full graph, that is okay. It just has a negative association. I will just draw a small graph here. So the x-axis is price and so the x-axis is quantity and the y-axis is price, and this is the graph. So it has a negative association. As the price increases, the quantity consumed decreases. As the price is less, the quantity consumed is greater. So this is the law of demand. This is what the law of demand says. The law of demand says that all other factors being equal, as the price of a good or service increases, the consumer demand for the good or service will decrease and vice versa. So this is about what the first lesson in economics is about. So we'll just have a recap. In today we looked at what is economics. Economics is majorly concerned with how goods and services are produced, consumed and distributed. Then we looked at microeconomics and macroeconomics. So microeconomics is concerned at an individual level, and macroeconomics is concerned at the level of the entire economy. Macroeconomics is also concerned with firm level decisions and firm level behavior of consumers. Then we looked at the law of supply, which states that as price increases, the quantity supplied by a producer increases. And then we saw that there is a linear association here. Then we saw the law of demand, which states that as the price increases, the quantity consumed by the consumer decreases. And then we saw that it has a negative association. So this concludes the first chapter. Thank you.